What happens when global leaders meet? Behind closed
Oh,
doors.
wow.
It might just dramatically shift, the world's energy markets, maybe even redraw the lines of international influence.
It certainly can.
You know how quickly news cycles move, right?
Hmm.
But some events, they send ripples. Ripples that travel for years.
Hmm.
Like just recently, August 18th, 2025, this critical summit unfolded in Anchorage, Alaska.
Right, the Trump-Putin meeting.
Exactly. Between former U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
And look, this wasn't just, a handshake and a photo op, was it?
No, definitely not. It sent immediate shockwaves through global energy markets, especially crude oil.
Yeah, we saw oil prices slip almost instantly. WTI crude down, what, 0.5%?
And Brent crude down 0.6%. This was back on July 16th, following those easing supply fears from Trump's earlier 50-day deadline talk on Russia.
So this meeting, and, others like it,
Yeah.
they really reveal how swiftly markets react, often within minutes, as traders adjust positions.
It's pretty incredible.
What might seem like high-level political theater, it can have very real, immediate economic consequences.
Absolutely. Affecting everything from energy shares, say, on the ASX 200.
Right down to the price you actually
Yeah.
pay at the pump.
And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah.
In this deep dive, we'll analyze how these recent diplomatic shifts between major global powers are fundamentally reshaping energy markets,
Right.
impacting specific commodity prices, and, altering the landscape of international influence.
So we'll look at Russia's strategic ambitions, too,
Yeah.
like Eastern Europe and Central Asia.
Exactly. We'll explore those and then examine the longer-term implications for global energy security and the overall world order.
Good.
By the end, you'll gain, hopefully, a clearer understanding of these complex dynamics and precisely why they matter for every nation and, indeed, for you.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're going to start with that August 2025 Trump-Putin summit in Anchorage. From what the sources tell us, what was the core intent behind that meeting? And maybe even more fascinating, how quickly did the markets react to it?
Well, the primary aim, as the sources lay it out, was a shift towards, I think the phrase was economic pragmatism over ideological confrontation.
Okay, pragmatism, so cooperation.
Essentially, yeah. Prioritizing cooperation and practical outcomes.
Yeah.
And the market response. It was almost instantaneous.
Instantaneous, really.
Yeah.
Can you give us a sense of that immediate impact, like numbers?
Absolutely. Think of it this way. Oil prices dropped immediately. WTI crude, that's the U.S. benchmark, fell 0.5% to U.S. $66.64 a barrel.
Okay.
And Brent crude, the international one, dropped 0.6% to U.S. $68.79 a barrel.
Wow.
And it wasn't just oil. Even Australian energy shares like Beach Energy and Woodside Energy on the ASX 200,
Yeah.
they were expected to have a subdued session directly because of these oil price drops. Gold prices even took a hit, with futures down 0.7% to U.S. $3,335.02 an ounce.
So it wasn't just oil, it was broader market sentiment reacting. But what triggered that immediate slide in oil prices? Was it simply the meeting itself happening?
It was certainly the meeting, but more specifically, analysts pointed to Trump's decision to delay imposing tariffs
Tariffs on who?
on countries like China and India who, continue to purchase Russian oil. This signaled a pretty significant shift in U.S. policy at the time.
Ah, okay. So easing tensions, basically.
Effectively, yes. What it did was reduce what's called the geopolitical risk premium.
Right, the fear factor priced in.
Exactly. That premium had previously propped up oil prices, reflecting the market's fear of supply disruptions due to, geopolitical tensions.
So when those tensions seem to ease, even just temporarily.
The premium just dissipated,
Yeah.
vanished, leading to that immediate bearish downward outlook.
That's a powerful demonstration of how interconnected everything is. But how is it that markets react so quickly? I mean, we're talking minutes, sometimes seconds.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part about modern financial markets, isn't it? Roughly 60% of oil futures trading volume now comes from algorithmic systems.
So computers trading, not people.
Mostly, yeah. These aren't human traders clicking buttons, they're sophisticated computer programs. They execute trades within milliseconds of diplomatic announcements or significant news.
Milliseconds.
So when a headline about eased tensions flashes across the wires, these algorithms can adjust positions almost instantly.
Which creates those sharp price swings we see.
Exactly. Sharp but often short-lived swings. It truly highlights the hyperconnectivity of modern markets to, well, diplomatic shifts.
And this isn't just about quick profits for traders, is it?
No, no. It fundamentally changes how geopolitical events are priced into global assets. It often creates this kind of flash volatility that, frankly, traditional analysis struggles to keep pace with.
And these aren't just abstract numbers floating around on trading screens, right? They have real-world impacts. How does this kind of shift affect nations like, say, India?
Exactly. Take India, for instance. It's the second largest buyer of Russian crude, right after China.
Okay.
Now, India had previously faced increased U.S. tariffs on its goods, an additional 25% duty, actually following those secondary sanctions on Russian oil purchases.
Right. The pressure was on.
It was. So the delay in these tariffs, stemming directly from that summit, it offered India a temporary breathing room, as they called it.
A big deal for their economy, I imagine.
Huge. It's a clear example of how deeply these high-level talks influence national economies. It can literally save or cost industries billions.
But you mentioned the swings can be short-lived.
Often, yes. While these diplomatic headlines trigger immediate movements, experienced traders try to differentiate between this noise and the fundamental supply-demand factors.
But sometimes the meetings do have lasting effects.
Oh, absolutely. Meetings that establish new frameworks for cooperation, or conversely for conflict, they can definitely initiate structural market changes that influence prices for years to come.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit now. Beyond the immediate energy markets, there's this significant geopolitical development brewing. Russia's strategic plan for something called the Union State.
Ah, yes, the Union State.
What exactly is this entity, and what are Russia's strategic goals for its neighbors, particularly Belarus, within this framework?
Right. So the Union State is technically a supranational union of Belarus and Russia. It was established way back in 1999.
Okay.
And the aim was for deep economic and defense integration. Now, while both countries currently retain their independence, there was a leaked 2021 strategy document.
Leaked documents, always interesting.
Very. This one was titled Strategic Goals of the Russian Federation in Belarus, and it reveals Russia's clear intent to effectively absorb Belarus by 2030.
Absorb. That sounds quite aggressive. What does absorption actually entail in this context?
Well, it's a comprehensive strategy. The plan involves aligning Belarusian laws with Russian ones, shaping its foreign policy, increasing Russian military presence.
Military presence, too.
Yes, and promoting the Russian language and even offering Russian citizenship. This tactic known as passportization.
Passportization. Why is that significant?
It's a particularly concerning tool because it can serve as a pretext for intervention down the line, claiming to protect, quote-unquote, Russian citizens abroad.
So it's not just economic or legal integration.
Yeah.
It's deeply military as well, then.
Absolutely. The Union State aims for deep defense and intelligence integration. We saw this back in October 2022, when around 9,000 Russian soldiers arrived in Belarus. They formed this regional military grouping, and Russian air forces began patrolling the Union State borders.
And there was a treaty recently.
Yes, adding to the tension, in December 2024, Russia and Belarus signed a mutual security guarantee treaty. That actually entered into force in March 2025.
Okay, so things are moving.
And here's where it gets, frankly, alarming. In May 2023, Belarusian President Lukashenko stated that any other countries willing to join the Union State would be given nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons. This followed Russia's announcement back in March 2023 of its plan to place tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. It's a profound shift in the regional power dynamics.
Wow. Okay, that raises a really important question. If this is Russia's approach with Belarus, what does this mean for other nations in Russia's orbit, particularly in Central Asia?
It's a significant concern for them, absolutely. Observers in Kazakhstan, for example, are reported to be quite wary.
Wary?
Yes, expressing concerns that their country could become Moscow's next target for a similar, gradual expansion of influence, especially if Russia's military efforts in Ukraine were perceived to weaken.
So Russia's using other tools too, like economic ones.
Definitely. Russia is actively using entities like the Eurasian Economic Union to bolster its own economy and, frankly, overcome Western sanctions. It creates this web of economic and political dependencies.
And it seems Russia is using energy, specifically nuclear energy, as a strategic tool in this as well.
Precisely. What's really striking here is how Russia leverages its state-owned nuclear energy giant Rosatom.
Rosatom, right.
They use it as a tool of strategic influence. I mean, these aren't purely commercial ventures.
Yeah.
They're often framed as geopolitical investments. They typically involve things like cheap loan financing, guaranteed access to Russian fuel, and even offers for radioactive waste disposal.
Which creates dependency.
Exactly. Profound financial, technological, and operational dependencies. And experts warn this can allow Russia to, quote, weaponize these dependencies for political leverage down the road.
Making countries beholden to Moscow.
Potentially exposing host countries to future threats or making them sort of tied to Moscow's political will. For you, the listener, understanding these mechanisms from passportization to the strategic use of energy infrastructure, it's crucial for assessing geopolitical stability and national security in this rapidly changing world.
It really is. It's a modern form of influence that seems incredibly difficult to untangle once it's established.
Very much so.
So, given these geopolitical considerations, how does nuclear power specifically fit into the broader global energy picture? Especially for countries like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, which are, grappling with these influences. Nations are always trying to balance energy security, affordability, sustainability.
That's the fundamental challenge, isn't it? For many nations, nuclear energy on one hand offers a stable and controllable baseload energy supply.
Which is vital if you have energy deficits.
Absolutely crucial. And Kazakhstan, remember, is the world's largest uranium exporter, so it actually has a strategic advantage there, possessing the raw materials.
But there's always a but.
But nuclear energy is not a cheap source. It carries substantial upfront costs.
Which often leads back to those foreign loans.
Exactly, creating financial dependencies, sometimes from the very nations creating the geopolitical pressures we just discussed.
It's a cycle.
It can be. Furthermore, nuclear plants need a stable water supply for cooling. That's a critical concern in water-scarce regions like Central Asia. And of course, the long-term management of radioactive waste remains a huge, often unresolved issue.
So it's really a double-edged sword, a powerful energy solution, but one that comes with significant costs, risks, and dependencies. How do these geopolitical tensions, like Russia's actions, intersect with the global push towards cleaner energy?
Well, this raises really important questions about global energy resilience and, the path forward. The International Energy Agency, the IEA, they highlight that geopolitical tensions are laying bare fragilities in the global energy system. And this underscores the critical need for faster clean energy expansion, partly just to bolster security.
So security is driving renewables, too.
It's a major factor. The world is rapidly moving into what some call an age of electricity. Low-emissions sources are projected to generate over half of the world's electricity before 2030.
That's soon.
Very soon. And interestingly, demand for all three major fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas, is actually projected to peak by the end of this decade.
That's a massive shift in a very short time frame. But are we investing enough to make that transition happen securely? Is the infrastructure keeping up?
That's the key challenge. Despite this clear shift, much greater investment in new energy systems is crucial, especially electricity grids and storage.
The supporting stuff.
Exactly. Currently, for every dollar spent on renewable power generation, only about 60 cents are spent on the supporting grids and storage.
So not keeping pace.
It shows the essential infrastructure isn't keeping pace. And the IEA's World Energy Outlook for 2024 also notes, without sharp declines in emissions, the world is on course for a 2.4 C rise in global average temperatures.
Which links energy security directly to climate change.
Underscoring those inextricable links. And interestingly, perhaps perversely, geopolitical tensions, like those involving Russia, have historically accelerated renewable energy investment.
As countries try to diversify away.
Sometimes creating that incentive for nations to rapidly diversify their energy sources away from volatile regions or suppliers.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our listener? We've explored how recent high-level diplomacy can immediately whack global markets, from oil prices to share values. And we've also unpacked Russia's longer-term geopolitical ambitions, like the planned absorption of Belarus and the strategic use of nuclear energy, which creates these really complex dependencies across its near or abroad.
And if we connect all this to the bigger picture, it's just crystal clear that energy security and national stability are deeply, deeply intertwined with international relations. The path ahead requires not just, economic foresight, but also strategic vigilance. Nations have to navigate a world where traditional power dynamics are shifting and new forms of influence are constantly emerging.
So how a country gets its energy is now about diplomacy as much as geology.
Absolutely. The way a country secures its energy future is now as much about its diplomatic relationships and geopolitical strategy as it is about its natural resources or lack thereof.
So the final thought for you.
Yeah. How will these profound geopolitical shifts shape your future energy landscape, the cost, the reliability, and ultimately the stability of your world? That's a question worth continually exploring because the answers are being written every day in the headlines and, importantly, behind those closed doors.